Welcome to this powerful journey. You are about to listen to a book that has transformed countless lives around the world.
This is not just a book of words. It's a guide, a challenge, and a call to discover the strongest version of yourself.
Every chapter you hear will push you, test you, and inspire you to break your limits.
So sit back, open your mind, and get ready to step into a mindset that can change everything.
Together, welcome to the book. This is not a self-help book. Nobody needs another sermon about the 10 steps or 7 stages or 16 hours a week that will deliver them from their stalled or jacked up life. Hit the local bookstore or surf Amazon, and you will slip into a bottomless pit of self-help hype. Must feel good to consume because it sure does sell.
Too bad most of it won't work. Not for real, not forever. You might see progress here and there, but if you are broken like I used to be or stuck wandering an endless plateau while your true potential wastes away, books alone can't and won't fix you.
Self-help is a fancy term for self-improvement, and while we should always strive to be better, improvement is often not enough. There are times in life when we become so disconnected from ourselves that we must drill down and rewire those cut connections in our hearts, minds, and souls. Because that is the only way to rediscover and reignite belief that flicker in the darkness with the power to spark your evolution.
Belief is a gritty, potent, primordial force. In the 1950s, a scientist named Dr. Kurt Richter proved this when he gathered dozens of rats and dropped them into 30-inch deep glass cylinders filled with water. The first rat paddled on the surface for a short time, then swam to the bottom where it looked for an escape hatch. It died within 2 minutes. Several others followed that same pattern. Some lasted as long as 15 minutes, but they all gave up. Richter was surprised because rats are good swimmers, yet in his lab, they drowned without much of a fight. So he tweaked the test. After he placed the next batch in their jars, Richter watched them, and right before it looked like they were about to give up, he and his techs scooped up the rats, toweled them off, and held them long enough for their heart and respiratory rates to normalize, long enough for them to register on a physiological scale that they had been saved. They did this a few times before Richter placed a group of them back into those evil cylinders again to see how long they would last on their own. This time, the rats didn't give up. They swam their hearts out for an average of 60 hours without any food or rest. One swam for 81 hours.
How could rats, held just a few times, swim exponentially longer than those left alone in the water? Richter's conclusion was simple. They swam so hard for so long because they believed they could be saved. Belief triggered something in their bodies that he couldn't fully explain, but he was convinced they had tapped into a source of power and energy that was unavailable to them without that connection to a promising force.
Belief is a valuable tool, but belief alone isn't enough. It must be tested and driven into action. Belief is like a spark. Without oxygen and fuel, it dies. In 2018, I published a book called Can't Hurt Me, about my wild and improbable life story and the lessons I'd learned from the obstacles I'd faced. Millions of people around the world read it and began to challenge themselves to grow and improve, but belief, I've learned, is not permanent. Just because you start something doesn't mean you finish it.
It doesn't matter how many people follow you on Instagram or how many subscribers you have on YouTube. It doesn't matter how many reps you did in the gym or if you ran a marathon. What matters is what you're willing to do today, right now.
That's why this book is not about what I've done. It's about what I've learned since and what I'm still learning. I'm still searching for more because there is no finish line.
Most people stop before they even start. They think they're ready, but they're not. They think they want it, but they don't. They think they've been through pain, but they've never truly suffered.
When you're suffering, that's when you know you're on the right path. That's when you know you're growing. That's when you know you're finding your true self.
You must learn to push through the pain, the fear, the doubt, the fatigue. You must learn to keep going when your mind tells you to quit.
That's where the growth happens. That's where the change happens. That's where you find out who you really are and what you're truly capable of.
This book is a guide to help you get there. It's not about me. It's about you. It's about what you can do and how far you can go.
The path won't be easy. In fact, it will be brutal. But if you're willing to take the first step and then the next, you'll be amazed at what you can achieve.
You don't rise to the level of your expectations. You fall to the level of your training.
That's why we must always train the mind, the body, and the spirit. Not sometimes, not when it's convenient, always.
When you think you're done, you're only at 40% of what you're truly capable of. That's when it's time to dig deeper.
It's time to callous your mind. It's time to embrace the pain. It's time to stop being comfortable and start being unstoppable.
Never finished means never settling. Never finished means always growing. Never finished means becoming the person you were meant to be.
So remember this. The journey never ends. The work is never done. And you are never finished.
What if? What if I could take all the pain, all the suffering, all the lessons I've learned and pass them on to you?
What if I could show you how to use the darkness in your life, the doubt, the insecurities, and turn them into strength?
What if I could prove to you that you're far more powerful than you've ever imagined and that your limits are only illusions?
Most people live their entire lives never asking themselves these questions. They accept the world as it is, and they accept themselves as less than they truly are.
But not you. You picked up this book for a reason. You're searching for something more, something deeper, something real.
And I promise you, if you're willing to do the work, if you're willing to suffer, if you're willing to push beyond what you think is possible, you'll find it.
I wasn't born this way. I wasn't born strong or smart or confident. I was weak, insecure, and full of fear.
But I refuse to let that be the end of my story. I refuse to let my circumstances define me.
So I started asking myself, what if? What if I could change? What if I could become someone greater? What if I could take control of my own life?
And then I stopped asking, and I started doing. Every day, every night, no excuses, no shortcuts, just hard work, sacrifice, and an unbreakable belief that I was capable of more.
And little by little, piece by piece, I transformed. Not overnight, not without setbacks, but I kept going.
And now, I'm here to show you that you can too. This book isn't about motivation. Motivation fades. Motivation is weak.
This book is about discipline, about doing the things you don't want to do when you don't want to do them.
It's about training your mind to be stronger than your feelings, to choose progress over comfort, to choose growth over excuses. Because when life hits you, and it will, you won't rise to the level of your motivation. You'll fall to the level of your discipline.
And if you don't have it, you'll break. But if you do, you'll become unstoppable.
So ask yourself, what if this book is the beginning of that transformation?
What if the pain you've been running from is actually the path to your strength?
What if the fear you've been hiding from is actually the key to your freedom?
What if the discipline you've been avoiding is the very thing that will unlock your destiny?
And what if the life you've always dreamed of is waiting for you on the other side of your excuses?
The choice is yours, right here, right now.
So, what if you finally decided to begin?
Your past is not your future, unless you choose to drag it with you.
Too many people stay prisoners of old mistakes, old heartbreaks, old failures.
They keep replaying the same story in their head. And as long as they do, they can't create a new one.
You can't drive forward if you're staring in the rearview mirror.
Close the door. Lock it. Throw away the key.
Because nothing new grows when you're watering dead plants.
Yes, your past shaped you, but it does not define you.
Every scar is proof that you survived, not that you're broken.
The pain was real, but so is the healing. So is the growth.
You are not your mistakes. You are not your failures. You are not the person you used to be.
You are who you decide to become today.
Stop reopening chapters that God has already finished.
Stop giving mouth to dead seasons.
Your destiny is not behind you, it's in front of you.
And you'll never step into it if you keep tripping over what's already gone.
Let the past stay buried.
And walk into the future that's waiting for you.
Every day is a new page.
But you can't write a new chapter if you keep rereading the old one.
Release it, forgive it, outgrow it.
Your best days are not the ones you left behind. They're the ones ahead.
So close the doors on your past.
And step boldly into the life you were meant to live. Your mind is a battlefield.
Every thought is a soldier, fighting either for you or against you.
If you let in fear, doubt, and negativity, they will conquer you from the inside.
But if you fill your mind with faith, courage, and vision, you become unstoppable.
What you feed your mind today will shape your life tomorrow.
Don't let toxic people rent space in your head.
Don't give your energy to voices that tell you you can't.
You become what you think about most. So think strong, think big, think forward.
Protect your mind like the treasure it is.
Because it holds the blueprint of your destiny.
Every day, guard the gates of your mind.
Be careful what you read, what you watch, what you listen to.
These are the seeds being planted in your subconscious.
And those seeds will grow into weeds or into flowers.
Choose wisely what you allow inside.
Because thoughts become beliefs, and beliefs become your life.
If you want success, start by mastering your inner world.
Because no battle outside can defeat you unless you've already lost inside.
Feed your mind daily with hope, vision, and discipline.
And watch as your reality begins to align with your thoughts.
The mind is the master key.
Guard it well, and it will open every door to your destiny.
When Edwin C. Barnes climbed down from the freight train in Orange, New Jersey, more than 30 years ago, he may have resembled a tramp, but his thoughts were those of a king.
As he made his way from the railroad tracks to Thomas A. Edison's office, his mind was at work.
He had come to enter into a partnership with the great inventor.
His desire was not a hope. It was not a wish. It was a keen, pulsating desire, which transcended everything else.
It was definite.
The desire was not new when he approached Edison. It had been Barnes's dominating desire for a long time.
In the beginning, when this desire first appeared in his mind, it may have been, probably was, only a wish.
But it was no mere wish when he appeared before Edison with it.
A few years later, Edwin C. Barnes again stood before Edison in the same office where he first met the inventor.
This time, his desire had been translated into reality. He was in business with Edison. The dominating dream of his life had become a reality.
Today, people who know Barnes envy him because of the break life yielded him. They see him in the days of triumph without taking the trouble to investigate the cause of his success.
Barnes succeeded because he chose a definite goal, placed all his energy, all his willpower, all his effort, everything back of that goal. He stood by that desire until it became the dominating obsession of his life, and finally, a fact.
When he went to Orange, he did not say to himself, "I will try to induce Edison to give me a job of some sort."
He said, "I will see Edison and put him on notice that I have come to go into business with him."
He did not say, "I will work there a few months, and if I get no encouragement, I will quit and get a job somewhere else."
He did say, "I will start anywhere. I will do anything Edison tells me to do, but before I am through, I will be his associate."
He did not go to Edison on that occasion to work for wages. He went there to arrange a business partnership.
Barnes did not get his partnership with Edison on his first interview. He did get a chance to work in the Edison offices at very nominal wages.
Months went by.
Nothing happened to bring the coveted goal which Barnes had set up in his mind as his definite major purpose.
But something important was happening in Barnes' mind. He was constantly intensifying his desire to become the business associate of Edison.
Psychologists have correctly said that when one is truly ready for a thing, it puts in its appearance.
Barnes was ready for a business association with Edison. Moreover, he was determined to remain ready until he got what he was seeking.
He did not say to himself, "Oh well, what's the use? I guess I'll change my mind and try for a salesman's job."
He said, I came here to go into business with Edison, and I'll accomplish this end if it takes the remainder of my life.
He meant it. What a different story men would have to tell if only they would adopt a definite purpose and stand by that purpose until it had time to become an all-consuming obsession.
Barnes succeeded because he chose a definite goal and backed it with persistence. He stood by that desire until it became reality.
Faith is the head chemist of the mind.
When faith is blended with thought, the subconscious mind instantly picks up the vibration, translates it into its spiritual equivalent, and transmits it to infinite intelligence.
Faith is the only known antidote for failure.
Faith is the element, the chemical, which, when mixed with prayer, gives one direct communication with infinite intelligence.
Faith is the element that transforms the ordinary vibration of thought, created by the finite mind of man, into the spiritual equivalent.
Faith is the only agency through which the cosmic force of infinite intelligence can be harnessed and used by man.
Riches begin in the form of thought.
The amount is limited only by the person in whose mind the thought is put into motion.
Faith removes limitations.
When you truly believe you can achieve something, your subconscious mind takes over the responsibility of translating that belief into its physical equivalent.
Thoughts which are mixed with faith immediately begin to translate themselves into their physical equivalent.
Faith is a state of mind which may be induced by affirmations or repeated instructions to the subconscious mind.
Any idea, plan, or purpose may be placed in the mind through repetition of thought.
When it is once accepted by the subconscious, it proceeds to translate it into its physical equivalent.
The emotions of faith, love, and sex are the most powerful of all the major positive emotions.
When the three are blended, they give one direct communication with infinite intelligence.
All thoughts which have been emotionalized and mixed with faith begin immediately to translate themselves into their physical equivalent.
Dominating thoughts which one permits to remain in the conscious mind, voluntarily or involuntarily, eventually reach the subconscious mind.
The subconscious mind is like fertile soil. It will grow whatever is planted in it. If you plant seeds of doubt and fear, you will reap failure. If you plant seeds of faith, you will reap success.
Faith is developed by voluntary repetition of affirmations of orders to the subconscious mind. When once faith is blended with thought, the subconscious mind instantly begins translating that thought into reality.
Positive emotions dominate the mind only when you deliberately put them there.
Faith cannot coexist with fear. One must be destroyed before the other can take root.
Faith is the starting point of all riches.
Faith is the foundation of all miracles and mysteries which cannot be analyzed by the rules of science.
Faith is the only known antidote to failure.
Faith is the element which, when mixed with prayer, gives direct communication with infinite intelligence.
Faith is the factor which converts ordinary thought into spiritual power.
Faith is the key to all achievement.
The imagination is literally the workshop wherein are fashioned all plans created by man.
The impulse, the desire, is given shape, form, and action through the aid of the imaginative faculty of the mind.
Man has discovered that his own brain can create useful ideas.
Through imagination, man has uncovered and harnessed more of nature's forces than at any time in history.
The imagination functions in two forms: synthetic imagination and creative imagination.
Synthetic imagination consists of arranging old concepts, ideas, or plans into new combinations.
Creative imagination is the faculty through which hunches and inspirations are received.
It is through this faculty that all basic or new ideas are handed over to man.
Through synthetic imagination, one may rearrange old ideas into new forms.
Most of what man creates is through this faculty because it deals with material already available.
This faculty can be cultivated by use.
The more it is used, the more alert it becomes.
Through the faculty of creative imagination, the finite mind of man has direct communication with infinite intelligence.
It is through creative imagination that ideas flash into the mind.
Through creative imagination, man receives the hunches and inspirations.
Great leaders of business, industry, and art have used creative imagination.
This faculty works only when the conscious mind is vibrating at a high rate, such as when stimulated by strong emotions.
Emotions like desire, faith, love, and sex stimulate the mind and open it to creative vibrations.
Ideas are the beginning points of all fortunes.
Ideas are products of imagination.
Desire is given shape, form, and action through imagination.
Desire can be transformed into money through definite plans, and those plans must be created through imagination.
It has been said that man can create anything he can imagine.
The imagination is not only man's workshop, but also his most powerful tool.
Man's only limitation, within reason, lies in his development and use of imagination.
He has not yet reached the apex of development in the use of imagination.
Imagination can transform impulses of desire into their physical counterpart.
If imagination is weak, desire will remain only a dream.
Through definite plans created by imagination, man has built great fortunes.
Without plans, desire is only a wish, of fleeting thought.
The imagination is the most marvelous, miraculous, inconceivably powerful force that the world has ever known.
It is the workshop of the mind wherein all man-made plans are shaped.
Man has discovered that whatever he can create in imagination, he can bring into reality.
Imagination is truly the workshop of the mind.
You have learned that everything man creates or acquires begins in the form of desire.
Desire is taken from the abstract and given form and action through the aid of organized planning.
The sixth step toward riches is organized planning.
You must translate desire into its monetary equivalent through definite plans.
No individual has sufficient experience, education, native ability, and knowledge to ensure the accumulation of great fortune without the cooperation of other people.
Every plan you adopt must be created and carried out with the aid and through the cooperation of other people.
Temporary defeat is not failure. It means only that your plans have not been sound.
Rebuild your plans and set sail once more toward your desired goal.
Ally yourself with a group of as many people as you may need to create and carry out your plan.
This is known as a mastermind.
Arrange to meet with your mastermind group at least twice a week.
Maintain harmony between yourself and every member of the group.
You must be friendly, sympathetic, and in full harmony with your group, or your mastermind alliance will fail.
Keep your mind sharp, alert, and open to new ideas.
The major attributes of leadership are unwavering courage, self-control, a keen sense of justice, definiteness of decision, definiteness of plans, the habit of doing more than paid for.
Also, a pleasing personality, sympathy and understanding, mastery of detail, willingness to assume responsibility, and cooperation.
Great leaders must possess these attributes.
Without them, leadership cannot endure.
The major causes of leadership failure include inability to organize details, unwillingness to render humble service, expectation of pay for what they know instead of what they do.
Also, fear of competition, lack of imagination, selfishness, intemperance, disloyalty, emphasis on authority of title, and lack of cooperation.
A leader who fails in any one of these may lose his leadership.
Successful leadership depends upon truth, justice, fairness, and unselfishness.
There are 30 major causes of failure. Among them are unfavorable hereditary background, lack of a well-defined purpose, lack of ambition to aim above mediocrity.
Also, lack of self-discipline, ill health, unfavorable environment, procrastination, lack of persistence, negative personality, and lack of controlled sexual urge.
Further causes include uncontrolled desire for something for nothing, lack of well-defined power of decision, fear, wrong selection of mate and marriage, overcaution, wrong selection of associates,
And superstition and prejudice, wrong selection of a vocation, lack of concentration of effort, the habit of indiscriminate spending, lack of enthusiasm, and intolerance.
also intemperance in drink, sex, or food, inability to cooperate, possession of power not acquired through self-effort, intentional dishonesty, egotism, and guessing instead of thinking.
And lastly, lack of capital.
You should analyze yourself at least once a year to determine whether you are making progress.
This self-analysis should be thorough, fearless, and honest.
If you find weaknesses, eliminate them before they become permanent handicaps.
Form the habit of daily self-analysis.
Success requires no explanations. Failure permits no alibis.
Remember, people who succeed reach decisions promptly and change them, if at all, very slowly.
People who fail, without exception, reach decisions very slowly and change them quickly and often.
Definiteness of decision always requires courage.
Those who accumulate fortunes usually establish definite plans and carry them out with persistence.
No man can succeed in a line of endeavor which he does not like.
Organized planning is the crystallization of desire into action.
Without organized planning, desire remains only a wish.
Definite plans backed by persistence lead to success.
Organized planning is the sixth step toward riches.
Persistence is an essential factor in the procedure of transmuting desire into its monetary equivalent.
The basis of persistence is the power of will.
Willpower and desire, when properly combined, make an irresistible pair.
People who accumulate great fortunes are generally known as cold-blooded and sometimes ruthless.
Often they are misunderstood.
What they have is willpower, which they mix with persistence.
Without persistence, you will be defeated, even before you start.
With persistence, you will win.
If you falter, if you give up at the first sign of defeat, you will fail.
Defeat is only a temporary signal to continue with greater effort.
Those who cultivate the habit of persistence seem to enjoy insurance against failure.
Every failure brings with it the seed of an equivalent advantage.
Persistence is the quality that transforms ordinary desire into greatness.
It is the power that guarantees results.
History has proven that persistence is the quality that wins.
Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence.
Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent.
Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb.
Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts.
Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent.
Power is essential for success in the accumulation of money.
Plans are inert and useless without sufficient power to translate them into action.
Power may be defined as organized and intelligently directed knowledge.
Knowledge is only potential power. It becomes power only when and if it is organized into definite plans of action and directed to a definite end.
This mastermind may be defined as coordination of knowledge and effort in a spirit of harmony between two or more people for the attainment of a definite purpose.
No individual may have great power without availing himself of the mastermind.
Economic advantage may be created by any person who surrounds himself with the advice, counsel, and personal cooperation of a group of people who are willing to lend him wholehearted aid.
This form of cooperative alliance has been the basis of nearly every great fortune.
Henry Ford wisely surrounded himself with men who contributed to every knowledge he lacked.
He knew how to use other men's brains.
A group of brains, coordinated in a spirit of harmony, will provide more thought energy than a single brain.
Through this principle, one may acquire and apply more power than he could ever have by himself.
The mastermind principle can give you economic riches.
But it can also connect you with a greater source of power, infinite intelligence.
When two or more minds are harmonized, a third mind appears, an invisible, intangible force which may be likened to a third mind.
This additional mind is the mastermind.
The mastermind is the principle through which you may borrow and use the education, the experience, the influence, and perhaps even the capital of other people.
You can accomplish more in 1 year with the aid of the mastermind than you can in a lifetime without it.
The meaning of the word transmute is the changing or transferring of one element or form of energy into another.
The emotion of sex brings into being a state of mind.
Because of ignorance on the subject, this state of mind is generally associated with the physical, and because of improper influence, it is misunderstood as a purely physical thing.
The emotion of sex has back of it the possibility of 3 constructive potentials.
They are perpetuation of mankind, maintenance of health, and the transformation of mediocrity into genius through transmutation.
Sex transmutation means the switching of the mind from thoughts of physical expression to thoughts of some other nature.
Sex desire is the most powerful of human desires.
When driven by this desire, men develop keenness of imagination, courage, willpower, persistence, and creative ability unknown to them at other times.
When harnessed and transmuted into action other than that of physical expression, this same motivating force may raise one to the status of genius.
A teacher who has trained more than 30,000 people states that when men begin to approach the age of 40 and discover sex, they become finally able to succeed.
This age is dangerous only if sex energy is not transmuted, but is dissipated.
The men who have accumulated great fortunes and achieved outstanding recognition in literature, art, industry, architecture, and the professions were motivated by the influence of sex desire.
When harnessed and redirected, this motivating force has given men superhuman capacity for action.
The transmutation of sex energy calls for the exercise of willpower to lift that energy up into another channel.
Genius is developed through the sixth sense, but the road to it is via the transmutation of sex energy.
When sexual energy is transmuted into creative channels, genius appears.
Napoleon Hill wrote that he found no evidence that highly sexed men are inclined to be vicious.
But he did find evidence that many who became great leaders were highly sexed men who learned the art of transmutation.
The desire for sexual expression is so strong that people freely run the risk of life and reputation to indulge it. When transmuted, it may be channeled into great achievement.
Love, romance, and sex are all emotions capable of driving men to heights of super achievement.
Love is the emotion which serves as a safety valve, ensuring balance, poise, and constructive effort.
The subconscious mind consists of a field of consciousness in which every impulse of thought that reaches the objective mind through any of the 5 senses is classified and recorded.
From these recorded thoughts, the subconscious mind draws on for creating dreams, ideas, and plans.
The subconscious mind works day and night through a continuous process.
It draws upon the forces of infinite intelligence for power, with which it voluntarily transmutes one's desires into their physical equivalent.
The subconscious mind is the connecting link between the finite mind of man and infinite intelligence.
It serves as the medium by which man can draw upon the universal storehouse of energy and apply that energy to the fulfillment of his desires.
It is through the subconscious mind that prayers are transmitted to infinite intelligence.
It is also through the subconscious mind that man's prayers are answered in the form of plans and ideas.
The subconscious mind works without one's knowledge and in spite of one's efforts to master it.
Control of the subconscious mind comes through habits, by voluntarily planting in it positive emotions and constructive thoughts.
The subconscious mind translates into reality thoughts of desire and also thoughts of fear, doubt, and disbelief.
It serves faithfully whether one feeds it success or failure.
You cannot entirely control your subconscious mind, but you can voluntarily hand over to it any plan, desire, or purpose you wish translated into concrete form.
The subconscious acts first on dominating desires which have been mixed with emotional feeling, such as faith.
The subconscious mind is most easily influenced by thought mixed with emotion.
This is why positive emotions must be mastered and applied, while negative emotions must be discarded.
The subconscious mind will not remain idle.
If you do not plant in it desires, it will feed upon thoughts which reach it from neglect or lack of control.
Every thought, whether positive or negative, when mixed with belief, is picked up by the subconscious mind and acted upon.
Through repeated suggestion, the subconscious mind accepts orders given it and works them out into reality.
This is why autosuggestion is so powerful. It is the method by which the conscious mind influences the subconscious mind.
The subconscious mind is the medium by which one comes into communication with infinite intelligence.
The brain is a broadcasting and receiving station for thought.
Through the medium of the ether, in a fashion similar to that employed by the radio broadcasting principle, every human brain is capable of both sending and receiving vibrations of thought.
The creative faculty of the mind is stimulated by the emotions.
The brain becomes more receptive to thought impulses when stimulated by emotions such as faith, love, and sex.
The subconscious mind is the sending station of the brain through which vibrations of thought are broadcast.
The creative imagination is the receiving set through which ideas, plans, and thoughts are received from infinite intelligence.
When the brain is stimulated, it becomes more alert, more receptive to thought impulses from outside sources.
The sixth sense, or creative imagination, is the channel through which the vibrations of thought are received.
The brain is highly sensitive and can be tuned like a radio receiver.
It picks up vibrations of thought which are being released by other brains.
The more a mind is tuned with positive emotions, the more sensitive it becomes to receiving thought vibrations.
Negative emotions, on the other hand, can prevent the brain from recognizing constructive vibrations.
Every human brain is both a broadcasting station and a receiving set for the vibrations of thought.
This explains why one can pick up another person's feelings, moods, or ideas even without words.
When stimulated, especially by strong desire, the mind communicates more quickly with infinite intelligence.
This is why organized groups of minds working together in harmony seem to function with greater power.
The blending of two or more minds in the spirit of harmony creates what is called a mastermind.
This coordination of thought energy creates a power greater than that of any single brain.
The sixth sense is the portion of the subconscious mind referred to as the creative imagination.
It is through this sixth sense that infinite intelligence may and does communicate voluntarily, without any effort from or demands by the individual.
This principle is the apex of the philosophy described in this book.
It can be understood and applied only by first mastering the other 12 principles.
The sixth sense defies description.
It cannot be described to a person who has not mastered the other principles of this philosophy, because such a person has no knowledge and no experience with which the sixth sense may be compared.
Understanding of the sixth sense comes only by meditation through mind development from within.
The sixth sense is that portion of the subconscious mind which has been referred to as the receiving set, through which ideas, plans, and thoughts flash into the mind.
The flashes are sometimes called hunches, inspirations, or intuitions.
The sixth sense is the medium through which infinite intelligence may communicate, voluntarily, without any effort on or demands by the individual.
This sixth sense is the faculty which marks the difference between a genius and an ordinary individual.
Developing this faculty comes only by applying the other principles of this philosophy.
The author experiences a strange feeling whenever he is inspired through the sixth sense.
At times, he's been conscious of having had guidance from an unknown source, which he could not have received through any of the five senses.
This guidance often comes in the form of an idea, plan, or hunch, and always brings with it a sense of certainty.
It is through this sense that warnings of impending danger are sometimes received.
One who has cultivated the sixth sense is no longer subject entirely to his own reasoning faculty.
Such a person can draw upon sources of knowledge not available through the ordinary means of the five senses.
The sixth sense is a direct link between the finite mind of man and infinite intelligence.
Through this faculty, one may receive information, knowledge, and guidance which will enable him to be prepared for opportunities and to avoid dangers.
Take inventory of yourself as you read this closing chapter and find out how many of the ghosts are standing in your way.
Before you can put any portion of this philosophy into successful use, your mind must be prepared to receive it.
The preparation is not difficult.
It begins with study, analysis, and understanding of three enemies which you shall have to clear out.
These are indecision, doubt, and fear.
The sixth sense will never function while these three negatives, or any one of them, remain in your mind.
The members of this unholy trio are closely related. Where one is found, the other two are close at hand.
Indecision is the seedling of fear.
Remember this truth as you read. Indecision crystallizes into doubt. The two blend and become fear.
The blending process often is slow. This is one reason why these three enemies are so dangerous.
They germinate and grow without their presence being observed.
The remainder of this chapter describes an end which can be attained only by persistent effort.
There are 6 basic fears, with some combination of which every human suffers at one time or another.
Most people are fortunate if they do not suffer from the entire 6.
Named in the order of their most common appearance, they are
The fear of poverty, the fear of criticism, the fear of ill health, the fear of loss of love of someone, the fear of old age, the fear of death.
All other fears are of minor importance. They can be grouped under these 6 headings.
The 6 basic fears, in the order named, are the most destructive.
It is self-evident that man's most common fear is poverty.
This fear paralyzes reason, destroys imagination, kills self-reliance, undermines enthusiasm, discourages initiative, leads to uncertainty of purpose, and encourages procrastination.
It drains energy, overwhelms the faculty of willpower, kills ambition, and makes self-control an impossibility.
It converts the human being into an object of pity and opens the door to failure in every conceivable form.
It kills love, assassinates the finer emotions, and leads to the worst of crimes.
No man can succeed in life when dominated by the fear of poverty.
The fear of criticism robs man of his initiative, destroys power of imagination, limits individuality, and takes away self-reliance.
It not only destroys initiative, but often leads to the worst kind of mental and physical ailments.
This fear relates to both physical and mental health.
It causes hypochondria, sends people to hospitals in fear of imaginary illness, and leads to nervous disorders without cause.
Jealousy and suspicion are among the symptoms of this fear.
It can lead to insanity, violent behavior, and even crime.
This fear grows out of two sources: the thought that one may become unable to earn a living, and the false and cruel teachings that old age means approaching the end of life.
It often results in loss of initiative, imagination, and self-reliance.
To many, this is the most terrifying of all fears.
It generally relates to pain and suffering, but more often to the thought of the unknown.
It is closely associated with religion.
For centuries, men have been taught that death means punishment and the beginning of eternal suffering.
The first step in mastering fears is to recognize them.
You can never conquer an enemy you do not see.
The 6 basic fears become translated into states of worry, which destroys self-confidence and initiative.
Self-analysis is essential in clearing these fears from your mind.
Do not deceive yourself about them. Face your fears directly and ask yourself whether or not there is any real basis for them.
Before you can put this philosophy into use, your mind must be rid of fear.
This clearing process will enable you to connect with infinite intelligence through the 6th sense without interference.